Welcome to Tessery, a podcast by Tesseros. Here, we're crafting life with tools and purpose. Through real examples, thoughtful tech, and practical strategies, we help you master the craftsmanship of your digital and everyday world. If you're looking for a clear place to start learning how to use AI and other technologies to support your work or home, this is your guide. Along with building resilient systems and carving space for creativity, we explore where transformation begins, one intentional step at a time. Welcome back. I hope you had some time to rest, relax, and reconnect with yourself and those you hold dear this holiday season. Today, we're talking about noise versus signal and how do we clear the digital clutter at home so we can build something powerful. I mentioned previously that I had gotten a new phone. In the process of transitioning, I had to log into my original apps, which prompted whether I wanted notifications. Some apps I didn't log into because I use a password manager and the passwords were a hassle to type. And then some I did, but I just said no notifications because I really don't need them. I ended up not adding email onto my new phone, and I significantly reduced the notifications. After about a week, I realized that I hadn't been hearing from my siblings, and we usually communicate in another app called Signal. And I realized that I forgot to log into the app. And so when I did, I realized I had to do a transfer between my old phone and my new phone to try and sync up the messages. And so when I opened my old phone, I was flooded by notifications, email, Reddit, you name it, and it was popping in. And I had thought before that I didn't have many notifications on, but I didn't realize until they came in as a batch how many I was still getting. And by not having them, there was such a sense of calm, and it was so much easier to set my phone aside and be truly present. The notifications are really weird. They give you this feeling of urgency that's really not that real. And so I made a very conscious decision after that to keep my notifications off, but also not to add email back to my phone because there is nothing urgent that comes through my email. It can be checked in the morning, in the afternoon, right before I go at the end of the day if I need to, as a final anything happened. But if it's truly urgent, I will get a phone call. And so I don't need all of those tiny little notifications that pull my attention away from being in the moment. And the temptation to check those things once you get the notification is also very powerful and addictive. And so it was really nice to actually recognize what a difference that it was going to make. But silence isn't enough. We also need support. And finding tools to reduce friction and cognitive load for us is massive. One of the things that I was able to do, and I thought it was really cool that I could even do this, but I used the Google Gemini app. So we got a notification from the school about it was a one-page kind of newsletter about a literacy event that was happening at the school. And so I wanted to add it to my calendar because it either has to live on the fridge or in my calendar. But it's one of those things that always just feels like a little bit of a hassle to do. And since I had my phone, I opened Google Gemini, snapped a picture, and said, "Can you add this to my calendar?" And it did it. And that was it. So it was one of those tiny little things that had no effort and it was just done. So I thought that was really, really cool. I highly recommend doing that if you have um, Google Gemini tied to your personal workspace. Very helpful. One of the things that comes up very frequently is how much having a clean, organized space affects your mental clarity and your sense of calm and your readiness to jump in and work. And we talk about that a lot with physical space, but we don't always talk about it in your digital space. Now, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit bad at this because I'm a piles person. So I like to have my stacks of all the different things I'm working on because that's how I remember. I know everything in every stack and where it's going to go. And I work really hard to clear my physical clutter, and then I also have to be conscientious about clearing my digital clutter because I am definitely the person who has 40 tabs open and no one else wants to use the computer. If I'm here, I actually have my own login, so I keep my own tabs. But When you leave work at the end of the day and you have 30, 40, whatever tabs open, I mean, one, yeah, I know the people who are into their computers are going to get mad at me for this because it's so much stress on your computer. I'm sorry. But it means that if I start the next day with all of that open, you immediately start feeling like you're starting from behind instead of starting the day clear and ready to embrace it. And so, one of the things that I've been doing as part of my new year reset is going through what are the ones that are causing me to not want to close the tab. So sometimes it's because, if I close the whole browser, I'm going to have to open these 5 different tabs because I need them all the time. Well, those are perfect ones that you can change in your settings. So each browser will have a similar feature. In Google browsers, you can go into your like little icon that has your information and go to settings. And then there's an on startup section. And so if you have 5 tabs that you always want open, your email, your Google Gemini, Perplexity, whatever that might be, set those to open on startup so that at the end of the day, you close your entire browser. Next time you open it up, those tabs that you've set will just be there ready and waiting for you. The other thing that can help a lot is having one dedicated space where you keep your notes about when you're leaving something off, where do you want to pick it up next time? So for me, that's Notion. I find it really easy because I can store things in all sorts of different formats. And so in Notion, I have each of the different things that probably would be a tab on my computer, and then I have a top section. And so I keep myself notes on where was I at? What is it that I'm worried about forgetting? Why I don't want to close it. And now that I've started doing that, it's a lot easier to fully shut down my browser at the end of the day. But it also means the next day I start with a blank slate and I can take a look through those things that I finished. And then I can do an evaluation. What's my priority of the day? And is this really a priority, or is it something that I ended up down a rabbit hole the day prior and it's actually not that important? Or maybe I want to go in a different direction now that it's been time to percolate. So I highly recommend taking a look at what are those tabs that you're always keeping open or opening frequently and you're finding it a hassle, and consider putting them on your startup. The other thing that I really like doing, I got a tip years ago to, in your bookmarks bar, delete the text. Most of your icons are really identifiable. ChatGPT has its little twirly thing. Gemini is its diamond. Spotify is the green with the signal lines. Canada Revenue Agency is a maple leaf. You don't need all of the text that goes with that. Most of those are really identifiable. And so if you delete the text, you just have nice, clean icons that you can choose from in your bookmarks bar. And visually, I find cutting out all of the words, for especially the ones that I don't need any of the words there, that is another sense of calm and organization, that I don't have as much information that I need to be bringing in. Another quick note on bookmark bars, you can add file folders to your bookmark bar. So if you're working in a completely remote environment and you're doing everything through web pages, sometimes creating a project, like a folder on your bookmark bar, say for a client name, and then frequently visited pages you have within them, that can also help with tidying up your bookmarks bar and organizing it. This week, I built my first Google Gem, and that was really interesting for me. I've been using Gemini more and more frequently, and the gems are like a custom set of prompts that you can kind of put in. So it helps to organize the thoughts and make it so you're not repeating things all the time. So within the gem that I wanted to make, I've been having to give it a lot of the same information each time about here's what my company is doing and the kits that I've been working on and all of those kind of things. And so what I did was I created a new Gemini conversation, and I attached all the documents that I've been working on, everything about my company. I did a text discussion of all the things that was important, the things I haven't resolved. And then I asked Google to write the instructions for the gem for me. And this was fantastic because Once I had that, I could then follow its instructions to go put the gem in. But then after the conversations initiated from that, I was able to pivot a little bit better. So we went through and we were working on the Flourishing Foundations toolkit, and I wanted to kind of shift the framework that I had originally been working on and then retool it for a slightly different market. And so we went through, we did all of the edits, we talked about different market segmentations and what that might look like. And then at the end of the conversation, I asked it to look back at what we discussed and were there any changes that we should make to the system prompt for this gem based on what we had learned. And so it gave me some tweaked instructions that some of them were what I wanted, some of them weren't things I would want all the time. But then I was able to kind of copy and paste the parts that I wanted and update the gem itself. And that was really exciting because that loop, trying something, realizing it's a little bit messy, refining it, that's how we grow. And we don't have to get our digital lives perfect on the first try. For goodness sakes, we're not going to get our lives perfect on the first try. And how boring would it be if it was? But being willing to make one small edit, one little change, see what happens, go back, make an adjustment, and also identifying what are things that you're doing over and over and over again. And can you change the source so that you don't have to keep editing the result? Makes a big difference. So here's your mini challenge for the week. I want you to find one digital friction point. Maybe it's a file you always have to search for, calendar invite that you always manually type out, and use a tool, whether it's an AI prompt, a save bookmark, or a simple unsubscribe to fix that one friction point. Don't fix the whole system, just make one change. Transformation starts with one small spark. Turn down the volume on the chaos this week. Notice how much more energy you have for the things that actually matter. Thanks for listening to Tessery. If this episode sparked an idea or helped you forge a new path, we'd love to hear it. Tessery is built by community. Send us your questions, feedback, or stories about how you're using AI or other technologies to simplify your life. Email us at hello@tesseros.com or leave a review on the app where you're listening right now. And if you know someone who's looking to craft their life a little bit differently, please share this episode with them. You can find all episodes, show notes, and extras at tesseros.com/tessery and subscribe through your preferred podcast app. Until next time, keep placing the pieces that matter.